You're listening to Podcast PXN, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. Let's do this. What's up, guys? Welcome to Podcast PXN, episode 38. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM on Twitter, and I am joined over Discord, not by Sean Babiak, but by a special guest host this week, Rauw-Ro. What is going on, Rauw-Ro?
Hello, Daniel. Thank you for having me. I am very excited to be here. Thank you. I'm doing good.
Absolutely, man. I don't know if you want to just kind of talk about like who you are and how we know each other, or if you want to go into anything like that.
Sure. So I'm Rauw-Ro, and I know Dennis DTM, as your username is.
Yep.
From a while back. We used to watch. Obviously, we're Kind of Funny best friends, so we're fans of Kind of Funny. Mm-hmm. But there was a little podcast called Media Interactive where we used to watch a show like similar to this one, where we'd be in the chat together and we would chat. We would be pretty regular guest on that show, and that's how we met, through that chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I was very, very excited to actually have you on the show this week. It was kind of last minute. I was like, hey, you want to do this? Because I was just like, for all the stuff going on right now in the world, and like just knowing you and like how big of a fan of video games you are, I was like, that this is just a perfect opportunity to kind of bring in someone with another voice that I don't feel like we necessarily get as much as we should in this world. Just briefly to kind of go over everything that's happening right now in the world. The first thing I want to say is racism is an absolutely awful, awful thing in this world. And unfortunately, it has lived on through many generations, and it's something that shouldn't be accepted by anyone. It should be fought against at every step of the way. And obviously with some of the incidents that have happened in the last several years, for instance, with George Floyd most recently, it's absolutely awful what had happened with police brutality and unnecessary actions against African Americans, and it's such an awful thing to see in this world. But I think the important thing here is, no matter what you think you know, you don't know everything you think you know. So people out there saying like, well, I'm not racist, but like, no, that's not no, there's no but. So just as a brief background here, about 2014, I believe, was the year of the Ferguson riots. And just to kind of, Rauw-Ro, just to kind of give you an idea of, where I have grown as a person, in 2014, when those protests were going on, I didn't really fully grasp what was, being told to me. That was kind of the launching point for Black Lives Matter. And at that time, I had in my head, when people said Black Lives Matter, I had in my head, for whatever reason, that Black Lives Matter meant that every other life doesn't matter other than Black lives. Like, I almost thought of it as like this cult or something. I'm not even sure. Like, I had such a warped perspective on that, and I'm not saying that I supported like violence against black people or anything like that. Like, I'm not at all that, and I've never been that. But I just didn't understand what that meant back then. And to be honest, I didn't really fully understand it until these events that have taken place now with George Floyd, because this is really the biggest thing that has happened since those 2014 Ferguson protests. I may have worded that wrong before. I meant to say protests. I'm not sure how I worded that. But so I feel like I've grown quite a bit since then, and now I understand, after seeing and reading and researching and figuring everything out now, I realized that Black Lives Matter doesn't mean the things that I thought it meant. Black
Mhm.
Lives Matter means that Black Lives Matter because there's things in this world that are happening to black people that the normal white person or the normal Asian person necessarily doesn't have to deal with. They grew up in a different environment. You don't have to deal with the social repercussions of police officers seeing you differently, or walking down the street, someone sees you differently. And unfortunately, we do live in this world where there are racists out there, and that's something that I don't have to deal with, and that's something that I've never had to imagine myself before this. And I am 100% grateful for everyone who has kind of opened my eyes to this. Especially, I have family that are police officers. I have friends that are African American, such as yourself, and other friends as well that I actually am friends with in real life that I've had discussions with, and they've really opened my eyes to these things. And while I will say not all police officers are necessarily all the same. For instance, my family, we all grew up the same way. So I know my family and I know that they aren't those type of people. But the problem is you have the police in general that are doing these things and are being hyper aggressive, and even at the protests, they're being overly aggressive in situations that they don't necessarily need to be. And I feel like this whole thing happening right now has really opened my eyes personally to everything happening right now. And yes, Black Lives absolutely matter. And I definitely recommend everyone to kind of, do your own research and figure everything out for yourself, because until you do that, you can't necessarily speak to what's going on appropriately. So I don't know what your thoughts are, Roro, on that, but I just wanted to kind of tell that little story there.
Well, thank you. Yeah. That's awesome. I'm glad that, you know, you had a certain view about the cause at some point, and it changed over time after, looking into it a bit more.
Hmm.
And I totally get that, like, point of view that people think, oh, when people say Black Lives Matter, that means nobody else does. But it's not the case. And I really try to say that when I see somebody say all lives matter, like that's not what we're saying. And it's like what you said.
Yep.
It's just that certain things are happening to Black people and it's not getting noticed. So we have to try and bring a little bit more clarity to the issue and just kind of focusing on that. But yeah, even on Twitter, like I've been seeing a lot of people on the other side, quote unquote, and I've been like trying to get into people's DMs and like how you were saying, having different conversations with people on, again, quote unquote, the other side. And it's just it's crazy that there is another side to this. Like
Right.
racism is bad and that
Yes.
should be the end of it. And I don't understand how there's a right and a wrong. There's a right and a wrong to this, but I don't understand how you could be like racism is bad, but and I don't know. It's a lot to digest.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we have people like you and that are supporting the cause and helping out. And it's good to see that um, this it has so much steam this time, a lot of momentum, and I hope it doesn't let up. And of course, I don't support destroying everything,
Right.
but this problem or issue needs to be spotlighted. And I think that people are doing it. And like you were saying, there's peaceful protests going on, and
Yep.
there are some pretty angry cops that are destroying it for some reason, just going in and wrecking the place. And people are just kneeling and
Yeah.
talking. And there's a lot of videos out there. And some people are just nitpicking the ones that push their narrative on, again, on both sides. This is happening. And I
Yep.
just wish each side would look a little bit further and just see what the other side's saying and what the other
Absolutely.
side is saying, and then just come to the middle, because I really do think that most of us want the same thing, but like stuff is just being lost in translation, and
Yep.
it's really sad. It sucks, but at the end of the day, Black Lives Matter,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Yeah, and I agree with everything you said. And I think the other important thing to kind of point out is, like, many of the peaceful protesters aren't the same people. I say many, I'd say probably 99.9% of them are not the rioters and looters that are going and breaking windows and stealing and doing the things at night. Even in Cincinnati, close to where I live, like I've been seeing the broadcasts each night because they kind of cover it to see what's going on, and like you see these people that are looting and breaking windows and stuff like that, but it's not the same people as the ones that are being peaceful. And there's actually an interesting video I saw today on Twitter of some police officers that were grouped up talking to a group of black individuals, and the police were saying, yeah, we know you guys aren't the ones that are causing all of this violence, because we know you guys. We've seen you guys on the streets protesting peacefully, and these other people are coming from like out of town and other places and destroying the city essentially. And it sucks that people are trying to take advantage of this situation just for their own benefit, essentially. Like, it is very frustrating in that regard. And I, not to defend many of what the police have done, but that probably is part of the problem of, police pushing back too much because of these people that aren't involved with the peaceful protests being mixed in with the peaceful protesters. And like, it's such an awful situation. It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
It sucks. Yeah.
It sucks.
So yeah, I appreciate you coming on to the show though, and kind of giving your perspective on everything. And there's one more thing I want to say. Our president is an absolute idiot. He's a bigot. He is probably one of the most racist ones of them all. And while I'm not a fan of the opposition for this fall's election either, but honestly, I don't know how much worse it can be than Donald Trump at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't vote for the man in 2016. I didn't vote for Hillary either, for full disclosure. I didn't vote for either one of them. I didn't like either one of them as candidates or him as a person. And this year, I do not plan on voting for him again. So yeah, I think it all comes from leadership as well, because you saw Obama in 2014 after the protests that occurred then, how much leadership he showed during those times, and Donald Trump shows almost the exact opposite of that. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, so. I live in Canada, but I mean, it still obviously trickles down here too.
Yeah.
What's going on up there? As we've seen, like around the world, there's a bunch of protests going on in places that aren't the U.S. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Absolutely agree. So that kind of ends that section of the podcast. So I just wanted to get that out there because this was too big of a situation to not address it, and kind of give our thoughts and kind of our stance on that. And I know if Sean was here, he would echo the exact same sentiments that I echoed. So yeah, Sean unfortunately couldn't join us because he had arrangements at work that he had to address, but he would be on the exact same wavelength. So but moving into the show, thank you everyone to watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every week on YouTube. Just search Podcast PXN and you will find us on there. The topic of the show this week is our favorite black video game characters of all time. But first, the show always starts with the PXN news of the week, so let's go ahead and jump right in. First item on the PXN news of the week, Rauw-Ro, is Prey VR has been listed as a PSVR game by a retailer. Did you ever play Prey when it came out?
I did not.
Oh
I did
man,
not play it. Is it a good one?
it is really good
Is
actually.
it?
So Prey was rebooted by Bethesda not that long ago. God, I can't even remember what year that was at this point.
Oh my,
Uh,
yeah.
but it was a really, really good game. It was very much like a Bioshock esque type of experience,
Mhm.
um, set in like this weird, like gritty alien world type of experience. It was a space station. You're taking place
Right.
on a space station, and you're dealing with these little like gel looking monsters that could
Aliens, yeah, that they
transform.
could turn into
Yeah,
objects, right? Yeah.
yeah, and they could like transform into objects and stuff, and it was crazy. But yeah, I think this would be super cool in VR because especially like the mechanics in VR where you're using your hands to like pick up and interact with objects and stuff,
Yeah.
because you do a lot of that with Prey. So
Yeah.
I think this sounds super cool. Um,
Yeah, it sounds great. Like you were saying with how you pick up stuff
yeah.
in the game with your controllers, it'll really meld well with the VR type of gameplay, and even the horror aspects of it with the aliens is only going to get worse with
Oh
when the
yeah.
screen is right in front of your face.
Oh yeah. That would be terrifying. I could definitely see that being terrifying. I The other thing is I hope this isn't a PSVR exclusive because I don't own
Mm,
PSVR.
right.
I have a Rift, Oculus Rift.
Oh,
Um,
pretty cool.
or I'm sorry, not a Rift. I have a Quest, Oculus
Oh,
Quest. So it's the wireless one that you can kind of use without wires, but you can
nice.
also plug it into your computer as well. So
Okay,
I would love for this to come to that, but I know Sean has a PSVR, so he'd probably be
just
excited for
yeah,
this. Uh,
nice.
so, moving on to more PlayStation news, we have our PlayStation 5 reveal event. So, this week's show was originally intended to be essentially us covering the PS5 reveal
Mhm.
event that was scheduled to take place today. But obviously, that event has been postponed. Obviously, during this time, as we already talked about in the top of the show, the this movement of Black Lives Matter has become much more important than anything else right now. So obviously, Sony made the very smart decision to push this back indefinitely. We don't have a date, but I know I'm very excited to see what they have to show when they show it. Obviously, this is the right decision. I'm sure you're very excited as well as a mainly PlayStation gamer.
Yeah, I was super hyped obviously for it to be this week when they initially announced it. But as you were saying, some more important things have come to the surface, and they're trying to let Black Lives Matter be the loudest voice right now, which is great. And a lot of other video game companies are following suit and like delaying events and putting out their statements. And
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree completely. Um, do you have just before we talked about this last week, but do you have any like predictions or what you think that you're gonna see
Oh.
next at this reveal event?
Um, I really hope to see. I I think this is maybe a little asking a little bit too much, but I really hope to see like a tease for Spider-Man 2.
Oh, oh
Um,
yes,
that might be too much, too
yeah,
early, because this is the first event and all that. But
yeah,
I really hope to see a Spider-Man 2, even just like a logo. It doesn't have to be much. I just want to know that Insomniac's already working on it. I'm sure they're already working on it, but I just like
yeah.
to see a confirmation of that.
You know, and me and Sean were just talking about this. I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago, but I was talking about how I hate how companies show like a logo and then don't show anything like 3 years or whatever.
Yeah.
But in this case, I would make an exception because I absolutely loved Spider-Man PS4.
So good.
That was my game of the year, even over God of War.
Oh,
I
man.
love the that was such a good game,
It
man.
was so hard for me to choose that year too between God of War and Spider-Man, and surprisingly, I chose God of War, but Spider-Man is
Really
so
good.
good.
Yes, and it would be amazing if they basically had like a conglomeration of Spider-Man. I don't know how they would do that, but like Miles Morales, Peter Parker,
Mhm.
Spider-Gwen, like having everything, all of them together, I think that would be super cool. I
Yeah,
don't know how they would do that with the story,
yeah,
but I think that would be awesome.
that would be
Uh,
cool.
Moving on, though, we have more PlayStation reveal event kind of leaks, or not really leaks, but kind of what we're expecting based on what people are saying. So, the lead animator at Guerrilla Games, who obviously is the developer of Horizon Zero Dawn, started commenting on the PS5 reveal event. So, when it was first announced last week, this guy went on there and started like commenting like suspiciously. So this kind of fueled the flames of what we were predicting last week, which was Horizon Zero Dawn sequel, which is what
Hmm.
I thought we were gonna see at this event. So I'm very excited for that. I really liked Horizon Zero Dawn, and I loved like anything with dinosaurs, even though they're mechanical dinosaurs. I'm all in for that. Like
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
I'm excited for Horizon Zero Dawn 2 as well, for sure. I love the first game also. The world was huge. The combat was so cool with the, like with the dinosaurs, the robot dinosaurs.
Yeah,
But like the melding of future and prehistoric, it's such a cool world, and Aloy is awesome, obviously.
yeah.
Um,
Climbing
but yeah,
those tall necks, that was super cool.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's going to be so exciting to see how they build upon that. Like, and it's so cool to see these already amazing games like Spider-Man, The Last of Us Part 2, Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, how do you make that game better? But they're
yeah.
going to with the
Mm.
PS5, with all the stuff that they can do now, making
You,
the world bigger. Tall necks will be taller somehow, and it's going to be so cool to see that.
you know how you make it better? You make Horizon Zero Dawn with Breath of the Wild climbing.
Yes,
That would be
thank you.
awesome.
That would be awesome.
Because I know
Oh
that
my
was a
God.
lot of people's complaints about Horizon Zero
Yes.
Dawn actually was because it came out like right at the same time as Zelda did, and people were like, "I can't climb that. What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Like,
I had a lot of issues like navigating that world, as beautiful as it was, but
yeah,
there was a checkpoint that's where I'm supposed to go. But I
yeah,
have to go all the way around this mountain. Why can't I just climb up this? And there
yeah,
were definitely a lot of times where I would just like shimmy, 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 shimmy up the mountain. Probably would have taken longer
yeah,
to shimmy up the mountain instead of just going the long way, but
yeah.
I had to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And can we just agree that you said Horizon Zero Dawn 2, but I think it should be called Horizon 1 Dawn. Am I right?
Definitely, definitely,
I'm
definitely.
just that was terrible. That was cheesy. Uh, moving moving on. More PlayStation news. This is continuing on the same kind of train there. More from the PS5 event. Jason Schreier, formerly of Kotaku, he's now with Business
Oh,
Weekly, something like
ooh, I
that.
don't
I
remember.
forget
Yeah.
I forget the name. But he's reporting that Sony is going to be showing both first party and big third party games as well at their event. So obviously, we're going to see first party games. So Horizon Zero Dawn 2, obviously. Spider Man tease would be amazing. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what else they would show first party wise, but third party, there's so many games that we don't even know about. Like
Mm,
one that sticks out in my mind that they've had a partnership in the past with is Rocksteady Games. We have not
mm,
seen Rocksteady Games make a game since 2015, 14 or
yeah.
15 with Batman Arkham Knight. We have no idea what they're working on. Like, I would love to see them come out on their reveal event stage and show off whatever they're working on.
Yeah. I'm dying for whatever they're working on too. I would like to see whatever I think Warner Brothers is working on Batman now, right?
Yes,
For the next
WB
game.
Montreal. Yeah.
Doug Montreal, yeah. So I'm like Barrett Courtney on this one. I'm desperately waiting for
Yeah.
when they show this off, because they've been teasing it so much,
Yeah.
and they just give it to us.
Yeah.
So it'd be really
Just
cool if they show it off there.
that would be awesome. I agree. And that's the thing with the WB Montreal project. Like you said, it's been literally months since they last gave us a tease, but they've been teasing this for like almost 6 months, I feel like, at this point. Like,
Yeah,
what the heck? You got to show something at some point. But
it's ridiculous. It's
it,
ridiculous.
it is ridiculous. So the final.
And
What? Sorry,
I just
go
want to
ahead.
say Jason Schreier is at Bloomberg right now.
Bloomberg. That's
Yeah.
it. Shoot. I knew it was a B. uh, so, this is our last PlayStation news story of the week. So, Jim Ryan has said that PlayStation is not interested in bringing new PS5 games to PlayStation 4 as well. So, this is interesting. This is kind of contrary to what we were thinking. We've talked about this on the podcast before, where we were talking about how Microsoft is doing such a good job with compatibility that Halo Infinite is a launch title for Xbox Series X, but it's also coming to PC and Xbox One as well. So, like, if you want to play there, you can certainly play there. Now, Sony's coming out in a completely different direction where they're basically saying all their first-party games on PlayStation 5 that are new experiences will not come out on PS4. So I thought this was interesting because they're two very different approaches. Sony's kind of taking the more traditional approach where you're basically cutting ties with the previous generation as soon as possible, whereas Microsoft is saying, hey, we want to support these consoles as long as we can. I'm not really sure which one is necessarily the correct answer. Because he has a good point when he said that you can cater your games towards that console when you're just focusing on that one console, which I agree with to a certain extent. But at the same time, these consoles are so much more like PCs than they've ever been before. And with Microsoft already showing the initiative where they have all of their first-party games going on PC already, they already do the stuff where you scale down to whatever minimum requirement you have. So I don't feel like it's going to be as big of a deal as, you would think necessarily. Like Halo Infinite is being built on this new engine that has the ability to scale from PC to Xbox Series X to Xbox One. And I don't know that it's necessarily going to hold back developers. But it kind of is an interesting back and forth. They have two different approaches. What do you think about their approaches? Do you have any preference on the two?
I mean, my preference is what Xbox is doing for sure, with being able to, pick up a Xbox Series S or Xbox the all digital one. Like I
Yeah.
could pick that up for dirt cheap and
Mhm.
play Halo Infinite. Like
Yep.
that's awesome. That's definitely a gamer customer move. Like they're keeping them in mind there for sure. And PlayStation seems to be, like you're saying, the traditional route. They want to make money when they're making their PS5. Everybody buy the PS5. That's where you're going to be able to play the PS5 games. PS4, play PS4 games there. So I understand why PlayStation wants to go this route because they want everybody to buy their new console. Not to say that Xbox fans won't buy the new Xbox when it comes out, but
Mhm.
it, like me, I might take a little bit longer to buy the new Xbox if I can play
Yeah.
the new Xbox games on my PC or on my old Xbox One. And
Absolutely.
I think that's awesome and a great move, but
Yeah.
PlayStation, I wish PlayStation would do that, honestly, but I understand why they're not doing that.
Yeah, I agree completely. And kind of the other aspect to this is like some people are concerned about what the supply chain is going to look like
Mm.
for these new consoles. So if, for instance, you can't get your hands on a PlayStation 5
Yeah.
or an Xbox Series X, like for instance, if for whatever reason, if I couldn't get an Xbox Series X, I can still play Halo
But
Infinite
yeah,
on
that's true.
my Xbox One or my PC. And like
Not the same with PlayStation 5. Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
right. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like you don't I would not even know what to do with myself if I couldn't play Halo Infinite on launch day. I would lose my mind. So
I
like
get yeah.
th- that is
That would be with
definitely
me with
something.
Spider-Man 5, if not Spider-Man 5, play Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Say it did come out holiday. for somehow it comes out this year or
Yeah.
something crazy. But I'm not being able to play it when it comes out because I literally can't get my hands on a PS5. Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely I understand where Sony's coming from here. It's just I don't know that I necessarily would want it that way, you know.
Hmm.
So
Hopefully they have their all their ducks in a row, I guess, with all the supply stuff happening. I know COVID-19 is obviously putting a strain on that, but
yeah,
hopefully they know what they're doing.
I agree completely. Moving on, we have another news showcase that was delayed. That was originally supposed to take place, I believe, next week. CD Projekt Red has announced that they are delaying the Cyberpunk 2077 news showcase, which they were calling Night City Wire, and they've delayed it to June 25th. So we actually have a hard date for that one, which is good. It's something to look forward to. Obviously, again, we don't need to reiterate this each time, but like this is obviously Black Lives Matter, so go support that. That's the reason why these things are happening, because that's the important subject of the time right now. But yeah, I don't know about you. Are you very excited for Cyberpunk, or just kind of indifferent? I am super excited for it.
Yes, I am super excited now. When
Yeah.
it first was announced, I was like, I wasn't a huge fan of The Witcher 3, so that's why I wasn't super pumped for a new CD Projekt Red game. I know how awesome Witcher 3 is. I know it's an amazing game. It's just not like
Yep.
the world isn't my sort of cup of tea, like fantasy
Mhm.
settings isn't what I'm totally in for.
Yep.
But Cyberpunk, definitely in for, but I wasn't 100% on board because of how I felt about The Witcher 3. But after seeing everything that I've seen about this game, Keanu Reeves, I mean everything that I've seen about this game looks awesome. How intricate the systems are, how deep
Yep.
uh, everything is. It looks amazing, and I can't wait to for this event to see more. We've seen so much. Well, I shouldn't say we've seen so much, but we've seen enough to get like this hyped about it. So I can't wait to see what else they have to show.
Oh, I agree completely. And literally, you just, without knowing it, you just said exactly what I just said like last week, where I'm not a huge Witcher 3 fan. Like I absolutely respect the franchise, but
Yeah.
like you said, I'm not huge into fantasy. I played it. I just didn't really. I spent like maybe 5 or 6 hours with it. And I
Same,
absolutely
yeah.
respect it, just like you. But it's just not my cup of tea. And I actually likened last week. I likened it to Bethesda with Skyrim versus Fallout.
Yeah.
Like I actually like Skyrim. I like Skyrim, but Fallout is way more my speed when it comes to Bethesda games. So I feel like this is the same situation. Like Cyberpunk is their Fallout essentially,
Mhm.
which is super
Yeah,
exciting.
I agree with that. I'm in the same boat with Bethesda too, actually, where I'm not again, I respect Skyrim. I know
Yeah,
how important it is to the games industry. It's an awesome game, and it did what it did. But I'm more of a Fallout fan as well. So yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I just thought that was funny. You literally said the same thing I said
Same
last
boat.
week without even knowing. Uh, so moving on, the next news story we have is there's pictures of the new Xbox store for consoles that are being leaked, and it's codenamed Mercury. So like the planet Mercury. I'm probably butchering how I say that. Mercury? Okay, yeah, that's better. Uh, so this new look at the store actually looks super clean. I really like the new look for it. And my biggest complaint right now with the Xbox store, I'm not sure how much time you spent with it because I know you're mainly a PlayStation guy, but
Yeah.
the store on Xbox is so freaking slow. You like you click something and you wait and you wait and you wait and then it comes up and you're like, all right, I gotta click something else and then you wait and it's just so slow. This new look, it looks super fast and super like fluent design. Like I really like the new design. It actually reminds me of the Xbox app on Windows 10. where they kind of have everything in like, there's like guides on the left, and then it's a super crisp, clean picture, and then it has some tiles. And I really like it. And the best part about it is the fluidity. He was clicking through different sections, and it was going instantaneously, which obviously I don't know if this is going to be Xbox One or if this is going to be Xbox Series X or what. But I really hope that this is coming to Xbox One as well, because the store in Xbox One is so freaking slow.
Yeah, I like the look of it too, and I hope it comes to Xbox One. I feel like it would, how they're trying to like meld their ecosystem into one big thing. So
Yes.
I hope it comes to Xbox One. The PlayStation Store, I think it's been improved over time. It's definitely faster than it once was, but it's pretty slow too at times,
Yeah.
especially when you're trying to look at a trailer or something or images. It
Yeah.
takes forever to load
I almost wonder
pictures or something.
I almost wonder if that's partly because of like the end of the generation. There's so many games now, like in the
Yeah,
library, like
yeah.
it's just over saturated. But then you like wonder like what's gonna happen with Xbox Series X, because it supports literally every game that's on Xbox One
That's
and
true.
Xbox and X360.
Yeah,
I
like
don't know how that's gonna go. That's gonna it's gonna be interesting. So. The next news story we have: The Outer Worlds has gotten gameplay on the Nintendo Switch, and it actually releases tomorrow. So I pulled this up. One of my friends sent me a screenshot of the trailer for this, and you see the left side is Xbox One X, and then right side is Nintendo Switch. And my God, they had
yeah,
to do a lot to optimize this for the Nintendo Switch.
yeah.
I would definitely not recommend playing The Outer Worlds on Switch if you can play it somewhere else, because
Uh,
it is very, very stripped back. And obviously, the frame rate is way stripped back as well. The frame rate was very choppy in the demo that I saw. So, yeah. I'm glad that it's on another platform, just because I love The Outer Worlds. It was my game of the year last year. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that was my game of the year. I absolutely adored that game. It reminded me so much of Fallout, and if this can get it into more people's hands, awesome. But if you have somewhere else to play this, please play it there. Please.
Please, please
Yeah.
play it there. I
Yes.
would say I would take it one step further. Just don't play it on the Switch and just
Yeah.
watch YouTube videos or something, and
Yeah.
just get your experience that way. Don't spend the money
True.
because it doesn't look it looks bad. It looks
Yeah.
bad, and we say that about a lot of the ports that are coming to the Switch, like whether it be Overwatch or The Witcher. Is like if you have another place to play it there. And I agree with that. And but for this case, it's like it's really bad. It's really
Yeah.
bad. Like I was watching a comparison video as well, and they have to walk so close to an object to see the text that's written on it, as opposed to like obviously on the Xbox or any other console, you would be able to see it
Yeah.
from a pretty far distance. But I
Yeah.
don't
That,
know. Yeah,
that's not an optimal way to play that game
no.
at all. Even like the text, I feel like the text would be super hard to read. Like when the characters are talking, like sometimes people
Mm,
like to go over their choices. I feel like that would be very hard on a handheld as well. But
yes, yeah.
I don't know.
Even the
Move.
docked version doesn't look that great. Like
What is
playing it
it?
at handheld, the docked version, like when you're playing it on the
Oh,
screen.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, from dock to handheld. It's obviously worse, but
yeah,
yeah, it's a mess.
not good. Moving on to our next news story, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning has been announced. Like, come on with these freaking remaster names. Come on,
Uh,
Re-Reckoning.
Re-reckoning.
Ugh.
I
It is coming in August, and I think this is kind of an interesting one, because this was Kurt Schilling's 38 Studios that originally made this game, and borrowed a ton of money from a local government. Actually, I can't remember. I can't remember where they were based at, but they borrowed money. Rhode Island. It was Rhode Island. They borrowed money from Rhode Island government in order to create his studio. And then this game came out, and it actually, the critical acclaim for this game was pretty good. Like, people were like really positive on this game, but then the game didn't sell that well, and things went downhill really quickly with 38 Studios. They went into legal battles with the government. Kurt Schilling went into legal battles. Obviously, the studio shut down. So I'm kind of excited for this to kind of come back, and for people to check this out that maybe didn't get to check it out the first time.
Yeah, I think that's me. I looked it up like as soon as it was announced that there was going to be a remaster. I was
Yeah.
like, I've heard of this. I've heard Greg Miller talk about this. I've heard like a couple of other people talk about this. Like, what is this? And then I searched it up and I learned about it. But yeah, I'm excited to maybe dive into this. Maybe it'll be. I saw it's going to be on Xbox. That's the store that it leaked on
Yes.
initially. So
Yeah, I'm sure it'll
yeah,
be on everything, Xbox
yeah,
and PlayStation and
yeah.
PC. But yeah, this is really good news, in my opinion. And I'm in the same boat as you. I didn't play it originally either, so I'm kind of interested to possibly check it out as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and maybe one last hurrah before Cyberpunk in September.
Yeah.
Moving on, EA Access is coming to Steam. A new announcement from EA. So EA actually did something good for once. Uh, but this is actually a good thing for me personally, because I've had EA Access from the beginning when they launched on Xbox One, because it's such a good value for one. Because if you buy EA games, you're saving, I think, 10% off of each game that you buy. So that adds up. And then you get early access to demos, and then you get access to their vault, which they always, every year, they add games to their vault. So, like, there's games like Battlefront in there. Battlefront 2, I think, is in there even now. Madden games, FIFA, etc. Like, you get a collection of all these games, and it's only, I believe, $30 for an entire year. Like, it's a pretty much it sells itself for me personally. If you don't buy EA games, obviously it's not going to really
Yeah.
have much benefit to you, but otherwise it's really good value, and I'm glad to see it kind of expanding to Steam as well.
That's pretty cool. I haven't looked that much into it because, like you were saying, I don't buy too many EA games.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's cool that it's reaching a wider audience for sure.
absolutely. So our final news story of the week, Hideo Kojima has revealed a big project he was working on was recently scrapped, and they are now working on whatever their next game is going to be. So I thought this was interesting because there were like some grumblings a few weeks ago, like a month or so ago, that they were possibly working on a Silent Hill game based on some of the tweets like that people associated with the studio were tweeting. They were tweeting stuff like related to Pyramid Head and stuff like that, and being really cagey about that stuff, which people were confused because obviously Konami owns the IP of Silent Hill, so Kojima can't create a Silent Hill game without getting those rights. Which then made people speculate maybe Sony's purchasing the IP from Konami. But at this point, not sure if that's what was canceled or if something else was canceled or if that was not true. I know after Death Stranding, it's going to be interesting to see where they go because I don't think they're going to make a sequel to Death Stranding. I wouldn't think. I didn't play Death Stranding, so I don't really know how that ends or if it leaves room for a sequel. Have you played Death Stranding?
I have I haven't completed it yet, but I have enjoyed my time with it so far.
Hmm.
I think I have heard that they could make a sequel out of what the ending was.
Okay.
Um, I'm not sure again if they would,
Yeah.
but I think they did leave room to possibly do so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'll be
but
interesting. I
for
don't.
sure.
I don't know. I don't know if I believe the rumors. Like, there's rumors out there that Sony's buying Silent Hill IP from Konami, and there's rumors that Microsoft's buying Metal Gear IP, which that doesn't make sense because that's never been associated with an Xbox brand
Yeah.
before. So, yeah, there's a lot of rumors out there. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Kojima's really hard to read. He's a special kind.
Yeah, he does what he wants.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving on to the games we are playing. So I've had a busy week of working at my house this week. I've been trying to get some grass because I got a patio put in at my house, but I haven't had a ton of time to play games. But I did start my Halo 2 Anniversary Master Chief Collection Legendary Solo Campaign Run. That's a mouthful. So I started that. I think I'm 5 missions deep already in Halo 2. So it's amazing to go back to play that after I hadn't played the anniversary version since like 2014 when it came out originally, and see how amazing the Blur cinematics are for Halo 2 Anniversary. It is absolutely stunning. Like, Blur, if Microsoft were to just give Blur Cinematics a bunch of money and say, "Hey, make us a Halo movie out of the game material," I would pay whatever price they want for that.
That's
Like,
awesome.
yeah. So that's pretty much all I've worked on
Very
this
fun.
week. So,
I
what
I
have you been?
played Halo the first one a couple of weeks ago. I'm still working on my first playthrough of the
Yes,
franchise.
yes.
But it's so crazy to see like what the original looked like compared to the I guess the remaster or
Yep.
whatever you would call it. You could press like the tab button and you could switch between both views, and it's insane. So I could only imagine how Halo 2 looks. So
Yes.
it's crazy.
That's the best feature
Yeah,
of that game. That is awesome.
it's really cool.
Yeah. Is there anything else you're playing that you want to shout out?
The Last of Us, the original Last of Us, I don't have the part two, unfortunately, so sad.
Yeah.
But I've been playing the original game, trying to uh, just get through it before part two comes out in a couple of weeks, so close. And I'm playing it on Survivor for the first time. I tried playing it on Grounded, didn't go so well. I got stuck, so I bumped it down a level, and yeah, I'm having lots of fun with it.
Sweet. Awesome. That is definitely one of the best games of last generation, and
Yeah.
obviously they ported it to this generation, but that game is absolutely stunning. Uh,
Mm.
Despite my criticisms of the sequel that I've talked about previously on this show, but we will see where that goes.
Yes.
The final thing on the show this week, we have the topic of the show this week, which I wanted to kind of highlight something that we don't really highlight too often, as a kind of like a tribute to what's going on at the moment with everything with Black Lives Matter. So, topic of the show this week is our favorite black video game characters of all time. So, my first one is pretty much a no-brainer. Like, this one is one of my favorite characters in general, not just black characters, but characters in general. Sergeant Johnson from Halo 1 through 3, and as well ODST as well. But he is such a like over-the-top, hilarious, like, I don't know, down to earth character. I absolutely love his character and what Bungie did to make his character so outgoing and so personable. He's such an amazing character, and it sucks that they killed him in Halo. Well, wait, I shouldn't have said that.
How could you?
They did not kill him. I don't know
No.
what you're talking about. They never killed Sergeant
Oh
Johnson.
my
But
goodness. I
I
understand.
completely forgot your shit.
That's okay.
Damn it.
That's
Uh,
okay. I think I've seen that somewhere. It did leave my mind. Now I've
yeah.
been reminded. But
Shit.
no, I knew that already, I
All
think.
right. Well, I
Yeah.
need you to purge your mind from the last 30 seconds. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, Sergeant Johnson's such an amazing character, and Bungie did such an amazing job with him. Like, his most iconic lines, like, I cannot even fathom like how they came up with his material. Like, his Dear Humanity, when he says, Dear Humanity, we regret coming to Earth. We regret being alien bastards, and we most certainly regret the Corps just blew up our raggedy-ass fleet. Like, that is such an amazing line, because he's making fun of the Covenant, essentially,
Yeah.
but I don't know, he's an awesome
He's
character.
awesome. Cool guy. He's a cool guy.
I don't know, what's your top one?
One of my favorites, this might be a kind of lame one, but Lord Saladin from Destiny. The
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he is the Iron Wolf, or the one of the Iron Wolves in Destiny. And when he was first revealed, obviously he had a helmet on, so nobody knew what he looked like under the helmet
Yeah.
until a later DLC called Rise of Wolves, where he's seen taking off his helmet, and you see this old grizzled black dude, and he has this really deep, like badass voice.
Yeah.
And in this trailer, he has like a fiery axe in, and it's just that one of the coolest things I've ever seen when he pulls that out, and then it just boom, and then it catches on fire. And yeah, that's one of my favorite trailers for Destiny, because of obviously Saladin revealed that he's a brother. But it was
Yes.
really cool
Hi-
to see him take on the Fallen. It was awesome.
His armor is so freaking
It's so
sick too. I
cool.
love
So
his
cool.
armor. That yeah, that's a really
Another
good
Bungie
choice.
character.
Yeah, absolutely. Bungie's rocking our list already. We're only
Yeah.
2 characters in.
Yeah.
Uh, my next one is Lincoln Clay from Mafia 3. This one, I don't think this one gets enough credit
Hmm.
for what he did to this character. So, if anyone doesn't know this, Mafia 3 takes place in like the 40s. I'm probably getting that wrong. 60s. I don't know. Some older style era where there's a lot of racism amongst the world. And I thought that was a very interesting, take on the world, because we don't typically see that kind of stuff. We don't typically see like this is how things were back then, and like this is how. And obviously, we're talking about today how big of a issue racism is today, even. But to even go back further and see it, shown in even more heavy of a light, it just makes me, connect more with Lincoln Clay, who's this bootstraps hard worker, and he's kind of thrust into this terrible situation where he kind of has to get himself out of it. And I really like his character in that game, and the atmosphere is just incredible to kind of walk around and feel like you are a person of that origin, when I couldn't otherwise relate to that.
Yeah.
It kind of, and that's kind of how video games are powerful in that sense, because you can actually take over as that character and feel some kind of connection to them, like almost like you're feeling it.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. It sucks that the reviews for the game weren't too good, because I've heard the story was really good,
The
and the
story,
character, like you were saying.
oh,
Yeah.
the story and the characters are phenomenal. The gameplay
Yeah. That's
was not so good. It was
yeah.
definitely a step down, because Mafia 2 was one of my favorite games. The gameplay was amazing for Mafia 2, and then I don't know what the hell they did for Mafia 3. They just ruined it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
That's
story is, in my opinion, the story alone is worth playing Mafia 3 for, because it has that good of a story. Um,
Hmm.
what you have another character that you wanted to
Yes.
shout out?
So my next character, I'm trying to see which one I do next. I'm gonna go with Lee Everett from The Walking Dead season. Well, I guess he's in all of them, but he
Yeah,
was the main character in
season
the
one.
first one, in season
That's
one. Yeah.
amazing pick.
Yeah, he's an awesome character. He's just so caring, the way he takes care of Clem, the way he's a great leader. When obviously you are the character, so you would play as him. So there's obviously gameplay that factors into that, but the character is a great leader. Um, he's fair. He's just an awesome guy, and how he took care of Clem, and the finale for that season always breaks my heart
Oh, that's
every
awful.
time.
Yeah.
And but yeah, Lee's an awesome guy, as Clem says all the time. Um, yeah,
Yeah. I agree with those sentiments completely, and yeah, the ending of season one that destroyed me as well.
every time.
That was
Did
painful.
you did you leave him, or did you know,
I shot him. Yeah.
you shot him? Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah. Kind of on that same note though, I have Clementine. Like she is such a powerful like character too. Like she starts as such an innocent little child in
Mhm.
the first season, and you watch as she becomes like this young woman in the final season, where she, in my opinion, she shined in the final season more than she shined anywhere else. And like you
Yeah.
saw that growth of her throughout all the seasons, and like it just felt like the perfect opportunity for her. And I absolutely loved what they did with the final season, and I very much liked how they finished that series without ruining the ending there. I thought it kind of, went full circle. And
Yeah.
it kind of tricks you in a way, too, without spoiling things. But it kind of makes you think one thing and then they do something else, which I thought was kind of cool as well.
Mhm.
Um,
I've seen the ending of it. I still need to play it myself, and I really want to, but
yeah.
I know what you're talking about there.
Yep.
But my one of my favorite Clem moments is I think season two, where she's still pretty young, but she's obviously on her own now,
Hmm.
and where I forget the characters that did this to her, but when she's locked in the shed and she's trying to get out because the people who locked her in there think that she's bitten, and she
Oh,
does all this crazy stuff. Zombies are trying to get in on her, but she overcomes it. And when she gets out of the shed and everybody comes to check on her, she's like, still not
dead.
bitten. And,
Oh,
and it's like
bitten. Yeah.
so awesome. And she's like 6 years old, or
Yeah.
like 7 years old in that part of it. And it's like such a badass at such a young age.
Yeah.
I could only hope to be that cool someday.
That was super powerful moment.
Yeah.
I yes. Was that the cannibals place?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't remember if it was that.
Okay.
I feel like the people that locked her up actually became her allies later on. I think that was like
Oh.
Lucas's season, if that
Okay. I
helps.
think you're
But
right. Yeah.
yeah, I think the cannibal ones with I don't remember when that happened, or maybe it was the cannibals. I don't remember. It's been such a long
They
time.
all blurred together. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, do you have another one that you want to share? Or
Yeah. I have one more.
okay, cool.
Um, and that is Nadine Ross from Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy. So she, another badass.
Yes.
So I was watching some videos earlier before the show just to like jog my memory of why I love her so much.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like the the auction scene in Uncharted 4 where she's there with I forget the guy's name. We're the main bad guy in that game. I forget. Everybody calls him Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember his name either.
Rafe, I think his name is.
Rafe.
Something like that. But yeah, as the story progresses, she takes on Nathan Drake in one of like a library area, and it was in that moment like, holy crap, this girl's kicking my ass. And
Yes.
obviously, Naughty Dog has like a way of how they tell their stories. Like, no matter how hard I press the square button, no matter how much I dodge, she's meant to kick my ass. So you know how much of a badass she is. It doesn't matter how good of a player that you are. Let me tell you, Nadine Ross is a badass, and they show it throughout the entire game. She's always showing up, and there's like the bell tower uh, scene where that's one of my favorite moments in video games, like that whole sequence where you're fighting her and she throws you out a window twice, I think, actually. And I think Drake says that as a joke a couple of times. The first time being what I was just describing in the library. She throws you out the freaking window, and she
Yeah.
does it again later at the bell tower, and she's like, "Not." Drake is like, "Not again." But yeah, Nadine Ross is awesome in Uncharted 4 and obviously in Lost Legacy, which I think is slept on as an Uncharted game.
Yeah.
It's an awesome game. Um, and people should definitely play that. But Nadine Ross is awesome.
To be honest, I never finished Lost Legacy. I really should go back to finish it. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that one.
I love the Uncharted games like 1 through
Yeah.
4. I absolutely love those games for whatever reason. I don't remember why I stopped playing it, but I just stopped playing it and then never went back to it.
Yeah.
I think the part that frustrated me was like the open car
Mm.
parts, like where you have to
Yeah, yeah,
drive everywhere. That kind of annoyed me because
I get
the
that. Yeah.
parts in Uncharted 4 where you had too much of that, I was kind of frustrated with, even though I still
Yeah.
liked Uncharted 4. So I feel like that might have been part of the reason why I stopped playing Lost Legacy. But
Mm.
yeah, absolutely agree with your pick. Great pick for strong female character. Uh, Strong female black character. Uh, but moving on to my next one, I have two more, so I apologize that I have
No
one
problem.
more than you do. Uh,
No problem.
Franklin from GTA 5. What a freaking character he is. Like, I felt like after Rockstar did GTA San Andreas with CJ, was it the main character?
Mhm, yeah.
After they did him, I didn't know that they were going to surpass him as a character because I thought he was a really cool character. But then Franklin, I feel like Franklin is an even more important character, and he has more depth than CJ did. And out of the three characters, I feel like him and Trevor are kind of my favorites because Trevor is just a freaking crazy dude. Like you just love that because he's crazy. But
Yeah.
Franklin was such an interesting character because he grew up essentially he was in the hood and he was taken in by Michael and by Trevor. They formed this alliance, so to speak, and they're all three people of very different walks of life, which was super cool to see that dynamic. And Franklin kind of, he was almost the voice of reason many times. Like
Yeah.
Michael was often like off the rails, and Trevor was
And
just
Trevor,
freaking
obviously.
crazy. So like he was their voice of reason essentially. So like
Yeah.
he was, in my opinion, one of the best GTA characters that we've ever gotten.
Yeah.
Um,
For sure.
but moving on to my final character, this is another really good character, powerful character, Captain Anderson from the Mass Effect trilogy. And I just want to shout out to my favorite, one of my favorite voice actors, Keith David. Absolutely phenomenal voice actor. He voices the Arbiter in Halo as well,
Oh.
and his voice is so powerful. Like I absolutely love what Keith David did with Captain Anderson. He asserts himself as a captain. He backs Shepard when Shepard has no one, backing him. He had the council all against him, but Shepard, but Captain Anderson was still there to support him, even if the rest of the council wasn't. Um, so I thought he's just such an amazing character. He stood up to I can't remember the other guy, the older white guy. He was an awful dude, but he stood up to him on many occasions. And man, Keith David does such a great job at voice work. And I would have put Arbiter on here as well, but he's kind of a alien creature. He's not really,
Yeah.
so but yeah, Keith David, loved that dude. So uh any other thoughts on our topic of the show?
No, I think it's awesome that we're able to, name a good amount of them. Like I would also say Henry and Sam from The Last of Us.
Ooh,
There's like
yeah,
there's a lot of I got a lot of Naughty Dog uh
yes.
on the list, but yeah, it's obviously we're heading in the right direction when it comes to inclusivity in video games. We still have a ways to go, but I definitely have to applaud um the right that we're doing. Like we're seeing it with female characters, we're seeing it with people of LGBTQ plus characters are being included more and more in indie games, not really AAA stuff, but even with Cyberpunk, like they're letting you make a character that you want to make. It doesn't really
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter. Like just do who you want to do, make who you want to make, and it's cool that the video game industry is starting to, kind of catch up with that kind of stuff with inclusivity, whether it be race or gender and stuff like that. So it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better than what you, the way you just put it. So yes, everything you just said, I absolutely echo everything. Again, Rauw-Ro, I really appreciate you coming on here as a guest host, co-host, and I welcome you whenever you want to come back on. You're welcome anytime you come back on, because I really think you provide another perspective that is really helpful, and I would absolutely welcome you with open arms anytime you want to join, or even if you wanted to join on a permanent basis. We could talk later, but I would definitely recommend you to come back. So
Thank you.
yeah,
I was thinking like Sean's PlayStation,
yeah,
your Xbox.
yeah.
I could be Nintendo.
There we go. That would be it. That would be it. We will talk after this, but I would welcome it 100%. So thank you again for coming out. Thank you everyone to watching the live stream. Just as a reminder, again, you guys can watch us every single week on YouTube. We are live. Really appreciate the support, guys. Remember, Black Lives Matter. And remember, we are all people. We are all people. Please love and support one another. We are all just people. Much love, and keep on gaming.